50. Thank you also for those of you who watch us via Facebook and YouTube and the Cignal Play app. At maraming salamat lagi sa PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet. And I just realized one of the reasons I like the PLDT Home Fiber Optic Internet setup is because it's got a system where I can actually isolate all of the juice, all of the internet to me when I'm doing the program, so that no one else can use the system or the Wi-Fi while we're doing the program. So if you're doing a business, if you do a lot of Zoom meetings and you need good quality, then you might want to consider that. Anyway, hindi po yan paid commercial. Endorsement po natin yan because it's a good setup. Now, today is September 29, 2023. It's a Friday. This by tomorrow, the month of September is goodbye, and we welcome October. Do make plans for the year end because October, November, December, Christmas na, etc. And I have people who have been sending posts na X days na lang to before 2023 ends. Well, let's make the most of it. I'm still excited with what the last 3 months will bring, and I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic and positive about it. So today, we are going to talk about something that has been on my mind and involves, it's medicine in nature, it's medical in nature, not medicine, medical in nature, and it's about pneumonia. Most of us, especially if you have elderly people in your homes, that is something you are really worried about, because when older people get pneumonia, it's a struggle to recover. Mabuti na lang, ako nabakunahan na. Okay, yes, there's vaccination for guys like me. But apparently the case is not for young children in the Philippines. In fact, it seems that we are number 4 contributor to pneumonia cases worldwide. I hope I'm correct in what I know, but it's a serious problem, and it seems that people are not giving it enough attention. So if you are a grandparent or a parent, then I hope you would listen into the show, because it is a serious matter that we should now address, especially with the cooler months coming in, everybody catching colds like I did over the weekend, biktima ng vogue, and that's why I have a sore throat. But we should all be careful. But we'll get to that later. Let's first go to our daily starter. In case you may have noticed, I have been focusing on the word living because I have the reason I'm doing this is because I've also been dealing with a lot of people who have loved ones dying. And when you see that happen, you realize that people need to be reminded, don't just deal with the mourning, the weeping of people dying. You also need to use that to be a reminder that you've got to live your life. Today, it is from our daily starter is from Dale Carnegie, the best-selling author. And Dale Carnegie says, one of the most tragic things I know about human nature is that all of us tend to put off living. We are all dreaming of some magical rose garden over the horizon instead of enjoying the roses that bloom outside our windows today. And this morning, I was really reminded of this because we tend to worry about the future. Some people regret their past, look back to their glory days in the past, worry about the future, but fail to see the present or appreciate the present. This morning, the Lord reminded me, you've got a roof over your head, you have a nice room, you have a job, you have a great family, you have great friends, and you have a job that is aligned with what I want you to do. So when I thought about that, yes, indeed, I have much to appreciate, much to be thankful for. Now, don't compare yourself to other people because you know what you need to do is appreciate who you are, where you are, what you have. Don't look at them in comparison to what others are and what they have because you'll never be happy or you'll never be content. When I realized that, teka, okay naman ang kalagayan ko, ba't ko ba iniisip yung future and worrying about it? You know, it's good to work towards the future you want. But working towards the future you want for yourself, for your children, for your family, should not rob you of the joys of today. I've been spending time with people who will never get to say, I love you to someone anymore. I have friends who have lost their wives. I have friends who have lost their children, and they're never going to get that chance. So if you have that chance, if you have that opportunity, kahit ano pang kalagayan mo sa buhay, take advantage of the chance and the opportunity and privilege to say, I love you, to say to God, thank you for what you've given me, and appreciate your present. I hope that helps you, particularly this weekend, where we can spend the time enjoying life with those who love us. Okay, so yan po. Now, let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And today, September 29, 2023, the headline is House Strips Sara of Confidential Fund. Vice President Sara Duterte and the Department of Education, or DepEd, which she heads, will not have confidential funds next year as lawmakers decided to realign the amount totaling 650 million in the 2024 national budget that the House of Representatives approved in record speed yesterday. The reason that the members of Congress gave is that the money is better spent and given to the intelligence community and law enforcement bodies. At the top of the front page, we have BBM Macron discuss West Philippine Sea issues in phone call. President Macron of France called President Bongbong Marcos to discuss the issues and continued support for each other to ensure that the sea lanes and airways over the West Philippine Sea remains open and free for all. Meanwhile, that photo at the top left is a photo of Arnel Mandal of the Philippines biting his silver medal during the awarding ceremony for the Wushu men's 56-kilogram category at the 19th Asian Games. That is the first silver, I believe, for the Philippines. Okay, so good. Huwag masyadong didiinan ng kagat at baka mabungi. Meanwhile, Viber, no info compromised in glitch. Messaging platform Viber has assured its users that no information was compromised following a glitch in file transfers earlier this week. So okay na balita yon. Excuse me. And at the center of the front page of the Philippine Star, the big photo is a photo of outstanding Filipinos. President Marcos posing with Metrobank Foundation outstanding Filipino awardees. And in that event, President Marcos says Philippines not a damaged culture, and using the awardees as a perfect example of patriotism, of excellence, and leadership, along with the Metro Bank leaders. Meanwhile, ito po, evidently, our drug problems have not stopped, but the government is doing something. 3.6 billion shabu seized in Pampanga. And that photo there are sacks upon sacks of 530 kilos of shabu concealed in Chinese tea packs, which were seized in a raid on a warehouse in Mexico, Pampanga. According to the report, the shipment came from Thailand and landed at the Subic Bay Port. So ayan po, sigurado magkakahigpitan na naman dyan sa Subic Bay. And that has always been a suspicion ever since, even in the past, where it is suspected that there is a syndicate that is operating drug runs through Subic. Anyway, Taiwan unveils locally made submarine in an effort to scale up their defenses. The tiny nation has launched the manufacture of a locally made submarine. Below that, you have a photo of World Dog Show 2023 winner awarded with inaugural Eastwood Paw of Fame. Meron pang Paw of Fame. Talagang dog-friendly ang Eastwood City. Meanwhile, the Senate detains cult leaders. 4 ranking members of a religious group posing as a people's organization were ordered detained at the Senate for not admitting their role in the alleged rape and forced marriages of children in a secluded but fortified mountainside village in Socorro, Surigao del Norte. So that's all the news we have on the front page of the Philippine Star. Please do get a copy, a physical copy, or get your the digital copy online. And I do hope that you will read our column today, my column, and which I entitled, Your Soul for Pogo. Kasi meron pong mga members of the Senate who are now vacillating or having second thoughts about supporting the ban on Pogo because it would result in tax revenue losses for the government. And I put up the argument there, and I do hope you would read it. Anyway, let's go for a quick break. Give myself a chance to clear my throat, and we will go to our very important discussion regarding pediatric pneumonia. Hindi po ito boring kasi importante po ito, especially if you have young children or if you are a grandparent. We all need to be informed so we can protect our loved ones. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
Did you know that a child aged below 5 dies of pneumonia every 43 seconds? That is according to the latest data of International Vaccine Access Center. Pneumonia is also considered as one of the leading causes of death of young Filipinos. In 2021, over 31,000 children under 5 died due to the said sickness. It's mostly caused by child wasting, indoor air pollution, secondhand smoke, and low birth weight. Child deaths from pneumonia is also blamed on child stunting, being underweight, and non-exclusive breastfeeding, as well as short gestation and lack of access to a hand washing facility. It also doesn't help that only 64% of children under 5 with pneumonia symptoms in the country are receiving proper care. How can the government further protect Filipino children from pneumonia? Let's discuss this on today's agenda.
Dr. Ong-Lim is the head of University of the Philippines, a Philippine General Hospital's Division of Infectious and Tropical Disease. She received her fellowship in the Pediatric Infectious Diseases section from the same institution. Dr. Ong-Lim is also a member of various medical groups such as the Infectious Disease Society of America, the Asian Society of Pediatric Infectious Disease, and the Health Department's Technical Advisory Group.
Good morning, Doc. Welcome to the program agenda. Thank you for making time for us because mukhang tinatakot ako ng team agenda dahil ako inuubo and they're worried. Baka mamaya may pneumonia na ito si Tatay Cito.
Actually, maraming may sakit ngayon, Cito. So I'm not surprised, no, na you're also having symptoms. I guess everybody just needs to be really careful now.
Mm-hmm. No, our conversation is now going to be about pediatric pneumonia. And when I was reading some of the information provided by the team, the first question I have is, ano ba talaga yung pneumonia? And paano? How do we get pneumonia? Because the parang urban myth ba yun that pneumonia is just a further complication of a cough, of a cold, kuba lumala at ngayong malala na ang tawag na dyan pneumonia. What is the science?
So people often get cough and cold illnesses, no? It's not unusual. And there are certain times of the year talaga na mas dumadami ang nagkakaroon ng sakit, nagkakaroon ng ubot-sipon, like what we're observing now. In many cases, people will recover spontaneously. After a couple of days, mawawala na yung ubo, gagaling na yung sipon. Pero tama ka to say that it is a complication of these upper respiratory tract infections. Kung nagkakaroon ng risk, kung may mga risk factors, or kung medyo matindi yung mikrobyo, then this cough and cold illness can progress to become pneumonia, which is seen in patients who present with difficulty of breathing and which results in decreased oxygen circulation in the body.
Mm-hmm. So it starts as a cough, a cold, sinisipon, pagkatapos but I remember one time the first time I ever got pneumonia, I was in my mid-20s. I was an athlete, malakas pa ako noon as a basketball, and then nag-basketball kami, and then going home naulanan ako. And then, sabi nila, naulanan kasi, ayan, mayroon ng sipon, may lagnat na. But after a few days, I was, delirious, literally delirious. So they finally called a physician, a neighbor, who by chance was a pulmonologist, and he said, "Pare, may pneumonia ka na. Ano bang ginagawa mo?" And sabi ko, nagba-basketball na ulanan. Ito, biglang 5 days later, mamatay na ako.
Yeah. So, listening to the details of your story, I think your pulmonologist was actually quite surprised that you in the peak of health in your 20s would have something like that, no? Kasi typically, people who get pneumonia from cough and cold illnesses who can't shake it off, no, are in the extremes of age. Karaniwan yung mga elderly. So I was listening to you earlier in the program, no, mga lolo, mga seniors, talagang very high ang incidence ng pneumonia sa kanila. And sa amin, sa pediatrics, madalas din namin yan makita. Kaya when you look at the data coming from our health systems, when you look at age disaggregated data, mataas parati ang incidence ng pneumonia in young children under 4 and in the senior population.
Okay, now, how do kids get pneumonia? Because, we Filipinos were so protective of children. And napansin ko, walang rich, walang poor eh. Walang sinasanto itong pneumonia. Even in the cleanest homes, with all the nurturing, pare, tinamaan yung baby ko ng pneumonia. What?
Kasi nga, di ba, Cito, yung problema with pneumonia and respiratory tract pathogens or organisms in general is dumadaan siya sa hangin eh. So kahit naman tayong paraan na i-seal yung ating mga bahay or our workplaces, our schools, pwede at pwedeng lumusot. So I think we can draw a paradigm from how COVID was transmitted. Di nga ba, parang it was in the air. So
Yeah.
if you're not breathing, you're at risk.
So it's just airborne. It's not in the surface. Kasi I remember someone who was so paranoid. He limited people coming to his home. Talagang everybody had to be screened, mask, etc. And then called me and said, "Pare, tinamaan kami." Sabi ko, "Ha? How did you get it?" Kasi hindi namin naisip yung naglilinis ng bahay, hindi namin na-screen yung cleaner. Yung cleaner, meron palang COVID. Parang yung nakadali ng, ilan ba yun? 33 senior citizens in Holland where he was just entertaining the elderly in the home for Christmas, not realizing he was a carrier and so I don't want to go to COVID, but I mean, is it just airborne or yung bang mga particles ng pneumonia naiiwan din sa mga table, chairs, or the favorite of germs, the door handle?
I think siguro at this point, it will be good to think about the fact na hindi lang iisa yung mikrobyo na pwede maging cause ng pneumonia. And the behavior of these organisms will vary. May mga organisms na mas efficient yung transmission nila sa hangin. May iba na kahit may konting panahon, tumatagal pa rin sila sa surfaces. So I suppose the point is that we should actually be quite careful about exposure to people with cough and cold illness in our surroundings. So nung panahon na yon, again, going back to COVID, since lahat tayo nakamask, medyo na-interrupt yung transmission. Pero ngayon, dahil hindi na gawin ng karamihan ang magmask, pwedeng-pwede na tayong kapitan. Medyo masama nga loob ko kasi minsan, di ba mapapalingon ka, ba't umuubo to? Tapos hindi siya nakamask. Mas nga nakamask pagka may ubot sipon. So I hope people will be more considerate, no? And keep that in mind para hindi rin sila makapanghawa kung ano pa man yung meron nila.
Okay, so going back to pediatric pneumonia, what should we know? Like, young parents or mga lolo? Kasi, yan, one thing that many people globally don't pay much attention to is we love babies. We love young kids. So yakap tayo ng yakap, halik ng halik. And sabi ko, ayan na. And my wife, when our baby, our daughter was still a baby, hello, magkakamatayan. Pag kayo dadamputin niyo yung anak ko or hahalikan niyo. She was very protective because she said, that's the first way of getting sick.
You're very right, no, Cito. Yung our culture talaga is maamo sa mga bata and hindi natin actually gawin yung magpapaalam ka muna sa mga magulang na pwede ko ba siyang buhatin or pwede ko ba siyang halikan, sige na lang tayo. And you're right, no, pwede talagang kumapit ang sakit, kahit anong sakit, and particularly respiratory illnesses, kung nagkakalapitan tayo, no, because it's in the air, it can be transmitted through droplets, and pwedeng kumalat ng mabilis. Ang nakakalungkot is that there are really ways to prevent this. through vaccination. But when you were talking about our data in the Philippines, we are number 5 in what is called zero-dose children. So ibig sabihin, nakaabot na ng 1-2 taon, hindi pa nakakatikim ng bakuna. And that's very sad because everything's free naman in the local health centers, di ba? Kailangan lang.
I'm surprised to hear that, Doc, because hindi ba ang children may required by law na children must have for diphtheria ba yun, for measles, etc. Hindi pa kasama yung vaccine for pneumonia?
Ang requirement kasi natin ng vaccinations, I would say, sa soft mandate, no? Obligado ang ating government na magbigay ng bakuna to make it available, to have a system in place, pero nasa sa tao pa rin yung pagtanggap. Never naman natin talagang ni-require, di ba? If you will remember, again, going back to our COVID experience, we never actually had a mandate, no? Pero may mga circumstances that actually led you to, ay nako, kailangan ako magpabakuna kasi otherwise, di ako makakapasok ng trabaho, hindi ako makakapag-commute and so on. So similar yon sa vaccination regulations natin for all other vaccines. We have all of these vaccines available in the local health centers. Nabanggit mo yung diphtheria, pertussis, measles, influenza B, and now the pneumococcal conjugate vaccines. These are all available for free for kids. And yet the coverage rate, no, lately has been struggling. And in fact, sabi nga ni WHO, number 5 na naman tayo sa global lists ng zero-dose children. So this is really something that we need to pay attention to.
Sadly in the Philippines, kung hindi nagkakamatayan, hindi pinapansin. We don't give it enough attention until there's a pandemic or there is a health crisis. What is the mortality or the impact of pneumonia on children and up to how old? Kasi merong range yan, di ba? Sabi mo kanina 2 years old. But yung mga tinatamaan that are hit by pneumonia, what's the picture like?
Most of the data that we have, no, is age bound, no. So we have data that's 1 to 4 years old, 5 to 10, and so on.
Yeah.
And look at children's illnesses in general, and that covers all the way up to age 18. Yung infectious diseases will be in the top of the list. And for children between ages 1 to 4, pneumonia is the leading cause of death. So it's a really significant problem. And again, as I mentioned, the sad thing is that a lot of this can be vaccine preventable. And because of various reasons, we've really had a drop in coverage. So I think in as much as we want to put a focus on pneumonia, the bigger problem is really we're not being able to protect the kids that we should be protecting with our immunization program.
Yeah. Why is it? Why is it that people don't realize that? Kasi pag sinabi mong the number 1 killer is heart disease, o sinabi mong for women, breast cancer is the number 1 problem, there is a media highlight, and then next thing you know, the hospitals are full of women having mammograms or guys like me having angiogram or stress test. But wala akong nadidinig. I don't hear anything about pediatric pneumonia and mortality rates.
I think it's really because it's such, I would say it's old news in a way. Kasi when you go ask families, may nagka-pneumonia ba na ba sa inyo? It's nothing new. Everybody has had an experience with pneumonia. And I suppose people take it as a fact of life. So maybe what I would share is, it's not something that we should minimize, no? Dapat talagang tutukan, bigyan ng pansin. And siguro yung isa pang maganda is marami nang pwedeng gawin para maiwasan.
Okay, but I think you have to excuse me, no? Me, I'm a believer in vaccination. In fact, I have had the pneumonia vaccine, I've had the flu vaccine. And when there was no vaccine for COVID, I remember telling my daughter, magpa-vaccinate ka muna ng flu vaccine before you fly to Europe for her college. Because your father is a mad scientist, yung flu vaccine at yung COVID na yan, magkakamag-anak yan eh. Baka naman makatulong. So, am I correct in that mentality that, vaccinations could possibly not just prevent pneumonia, but other complications, pulmonary complications?
So you are correct in that vaccines can prevent pneumonia coming from particular organisms. So the COVID vaccine to prevent COVID pneumonia. We take the measles vaccine to prevent measles and its complication, measles pneumonia. Children are given H influenza B vaccine as part of their penta combinations or hexa combinations to prevent H influenza B pneumonia. And meron na tayong pneumococcal conjugate vaccines that we give to kids to prevent pneumococcal pneumonia. So meron siyang specific target. Pero hindi ka nagkakamali na minsan may mga bakuna na if you are given protection for it, the complication caused, for example, by flu on top of COVID can be prevented by flu vaccine. The complication caused by bacterial pneumonia on top of flu can be prevented by other vaccines. So nagtutulong-tulong din naman sila.
Yeah. Now, who's supposed to be promoting this? Kasi, UP-PGH ka, ma'am, no? So, I salute UP-PGH. Pero, wala ba tayong agency who's really focused on pediatric healthcare? Kasi parang my sentiment is there should be geriatric healthcare, there should be pediatric healthcare. Anyone in between, hello, malakas na kayo, kaya niyo yan, punta na lang kayo sa doktor niyo.
Well, meron namang, we have a team within the Department of Health looking at the National Immunization Program. And their responsibility is making sure that the systems and the supplies are available. The deployment, because of our developed, his system is with the local government units, and they actually put a lot of effort in making sure that kids are vaccinated. Siguro kailangan talagang pagtulong-tulungan kasi kahit naman nandoon yung bakuna at merong magbibigay, kung yung mga pasyente, yung mga ay hindi mabibitbit sa centers, then nandoon lang sa ref yung mga gamot, no? So, role din naman natin bilang mga magulang, bilang responsible adults in the families to make sure that our kids are up to date. So, dapat binibitbit naman natin sila sa healthcare provider para mabakunahan din.
Okay, we'll go for a quick break, Doctor, and when we come back, I'd like to ask you more on the age, appropriate age for vaccination, ilang taon, tas hindi ba pwedeng gawin yan sa school? Kasi alam ako mga ginawang vaccination sa school and very effective. But anyway, we'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back here on Agenda.
Preventing and treating pneumonia in children requires a multifaceted approach, but there's also a simple way to do so, which is the protect, prevent, and treat framework. Protecting children from pneumonia. This includes improving breastfeeding practices as well as ensuring adequate nutrition. Next, preventing pneumonia in children. This can be done by reducing air pollution, improving access to safe water and sanitation, and increasing vaccine coverage. And of course, treating children with pneumonia. To do so, there must be an investment in health workers. Universal healthcare coverage must be achieved. There should be access to essential commodities. Authorities should also pave the way to scale up delivery and quality of care, and to increase care seeking among Filipinos. Let's discuss these further on today's agenda.
Okay, Dr. Ana Ong-Lim, welcome back. And before the break, I was asking you, isn't it possible to just do the vaccination campaigns in schools? Because don't capture talaga, or is the population for vaccination too young and not in school yet?
That's exactly it, no, Cito. So again, if you look at the data, the highest incidence happens in children between the ages of 1 to 4. And so nandoon pa sila sa bahay, cared for by families. Meron naman tayong mga bakuna na pwedeng ibigay within the school system. Typically, they're boosters. And receiving those within the school system is actually a big help kasi, as you mentioned, captured population. Pero for these vaccines that target the organisms that cause pneumonia, they are really impactful for very, very young kids. Kaya nga dapat infant vaccination program ang ating ini-implement for those diseases.
Aba, ay alam ko na kung sinong kakausapin natin. Si Secretary Gatchalian at si Secretary ng DILG. Kasi para sa PPP, we are providing money for young mothers, for mothers with children, babies, etc. With the 4Ps, dapat somewhere in that releases we should ask the DILG Secretary Benhar Abalos, thank you Gab, and Rex Gatchalian, baka naman pwedeng going mandatory na magpabakuna dahil mandatory yung mag-aral, mandatory yung magpa-maternal check-up, dapat mandatory rin yung vaccination.
So you have the same idea, no, as actually the proponents of the system. Isa yun dun sa binild in nila dun sa process. Kasi nga, di ba, parang that whole idea is to support those families who are in need. And alam natin na pag nagpapabakuna, isa sa mga impact yung hindi ka nagkakasakit, so lalong hindi ka bumabagsak sa kahirapan. Actually, there's data to show na for populations that are highly vaccinated, you are actually able to avert poverty, to prevent a substantial number of people to slipping into what they call extreme poverty, which is subsistence on $1.9 per day. So kung nagpapabakuna, hindi ka magkakasakit, hindi ka ma-ospital, hindi mauubos yung resources mo. Kaya it makes sense to put it within the 4Ps program, and it is there.
Okay, then this much I can commit to you. I will make them kulit. And kilala mo naman ako, makulit ako. But it is for a good cause. It is for these people, these children, not people, these infants, these toddlers who need protection from vaccination. Now, outside of the 4Ps area, what about those who are okay naman, financially okay, but are not vaccine literate? Because, you know, everyone complies with the mandatory. Kasi, what about pediatricians pala, Dr. Ana? Because you would think that pediatricians would tell the mothers, kapatid, you better have your daughter or your son vaccinated for pneumonia. I don't hear that much. They always talk about ano ba yun, the vital 4 or 8 vaccines.
So, Cito, yung ating health system, no? You're correct. We have people who avail of care within the private sector, and there are people who use the public health system for the health needs. Yung ating pediatric population, about 10% of them are seen by our private pediatricians and family practitioners. And I would say that within that sector, yung mga bakunang within the basic framework, yung tinatawag nating National Immunization Program
Yeah.
vaccines, they will receive them either in the clinics as out-of-pocket expense or ini-instruct sila ng kanilang mga pediatrician na alam mo, libre yan sa center, pwede naman din kayong dun magpa-bakuna tapos balik kayo sa akin for boosters para
Mm.
ma-match yung costs, no? But
Mm.
really, when I talk about that zero-dose children or the coverage now that we have achieved, which is something like below 70%, no? Even for the people within that captured age group, that's coming from the public health sector, which serves 90% of our 2.7 million cohort. So ang laki-laki ng kailangan talagang habulin ng public system para maibigay yung coverage na gusto natin, which is 90%. Malayo tayo sa target natin.
90% of those children between age 1 year old to 4 years old are not vaccinated for pneumonia.
So currently, we have the coverage is hovering at about 70% out of the 2.7 million cohort.
70%. Okay. Akala ko 90% na walang bakuna. So may coverage, nabakunahan 70%, pero marami pa rin wala.
Ang target natin is 90.
Okay. So,
Medyo-
okay, now what else can be done by barangays or by parents, etc., to increase that coverage?
Very challenging, no? Kasi maraming aspeto na kailangan tutukan. We have to make sure that the services are available, the supplies are available, and people are willing. So it's like this triangle that all has to be in place. So dahil nga devolved yung system natin, we're really very dependent on the prioritization of our local government units, kung makakapagbigay ba sila ng sapat na tao, actually, yan yung component nila, para mai-administer yung bakuna, at minsan pumunta sa mga pamamahay para to ask the parents to bring their kids for the vaccination. And then, of course, from our national government, they need to make sure that the supplies are always available. No? Nandoon nga yung pasyente, paminsan-minsan walang makuhang bakuna. So hindi nakasalanan ng pamilyang yon kasi pumunta naman sila, they did their part.
But what is the cost of this vaccine? Is it an expensive vaccine? Kasi kahapon nandun ako saan ba ako? Nasa Watson yata ako eh. And biglang may pumasok. Meron ho kayong vaccine na may bumibili pa pala ng vaccine para sa COVID ngayon. Akala ko lahat libre na.
So, yung mga bakunang available in the public health system, of course, they're free to the consumer, no? Kahit sino, kahit anong socioeconomic status, basta ang anak mo ay 1-year-old and below, and in some cases 5 years old and below, you will be given the vaccines. Walang kailangang out-of-pocket cost.
Libre yun.
Libre yun. And these are different vaccines that all target pneumonia. And maybe kasi, that's why I keep on talking about the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, kasi ito yung medyo bago. Baka hindi aware yung mga magulang na meron naman doon. Merong ganoon, ito rin yung tinatanggap ng mga pasyente sa private clinics, and it's for free. Kailangan lang dalhin yung mga bata.
What's special about that vaccine? You seem to describe it differently.
Ano kasi, Cito, no? So in our national program for the longest time, what we had were what we call basic antigens. So meron tayong vaccine for TB, yung DPT vaccines, polio, hepatitis B, and measles. So very familiar diseases to all of us. Pero talk about pneumonia, we actually are dealing with a lot of different organisms causing that same endpoint. Pwede kang magkapulmonya dahil sa iba't ibang mga mikrobyo. Now, among these different organisms, natuklasan na isa sa mga pinaka-frequent causes ng pneumonia yung tinatawag na pneumococcus or strep pneumoniae. At nagkaroon na finally ng bakuna against this. Now, it took about 10 years for that vaccine after development to reach the Philippines and another roughly 5-6 years before it finally got into the program. So bago pa nagka-pandemic, meron na tayong ganung bakuna. Hindi maganda ang uptake. Nung nagka-pandemic, lalo pang bumaba ang uptake ng buong sistema. And then ngayon, nagre-recover pa lang tayo. So ang gusto sana natin, lahat ng qualified, magpabakuna, kasama na tong bakuna against the pneumococcus, which is a main cause of pneumonia.
And that's all free in the public hospitals or in the barangays.
It's free.
Okay,
Kailangan-
what is the what are you finding out on the ground as far as resistance, avoidance, or failure to take advantage of this vaccine? Kasi parang noon may mga issue that Dengvax siya. But is that still a valid point of contention or naiba na?
I think there is a sector of the population na syempre may konting takot, may konting kaba. Pero tayo, nakikita talaga natin itong mga sakit na to sa araw-araw eh. It happens in our families or our neighborhoods. Kaya when we talk about the measles vaccine, people know na anong itsura niyan, anong pwedeng mangyari. So living with these diseases forces us to confront the reality. And I think when we talk about vaccine acceptance, vaccine hesitancy, it's not as much that as all of these logistical concerns that people have to hurdle to get vaccinated, that's stopping them from actually availing of the vaccine. So, for example, kung nagkataon na hindi naman pala araw-araw ang bakunahan dun sa center na malapit sa kanila,
Yes.
pa ni nanay na sandali lang mag-o-off ako nitong araw na to. Eh kung mag-off ako ng umaga, magpapamasahe pa ba ako para pumunta ng half day? Tapos uuwi na naman ako, may pamasahe na naman ako. Yung sinwerte yung pangkalahating araw, kulang pa yan sa pamasahe ko. So all of these logistical concerns make it challenging to be vaccinated. And you also want to make sure na pagpunta mo doon may stocks, no? So ang wish ko lang, no? Sana pagka naisip na nung mga magulang na bitbitin yung mga anak nila sa bakunahan, nothing will stop that process from happening. And it's our role, no, as administrators, policymakers, system leads to make sure that that happens.
Yeah, you've been you're with UP-PGH, so you're in the center of the medical universe in the Philippines. Now, isn't it possible, yung wish ko rin na di ba pwedeng oy, tara, magpabakuna nga tayo, walk-in lang na, isn't that possible that it can be just as simple as dispensing medicine from a counter? Because, you travel to other countries, yung kanilang mga pharmacists are licensed also to give vaccination as long as may dala kang reseta or as long as it is in a government-mandated program. Di ba pwedeng gawin dito yun? Or what is needed to do that?
Currently, meron na tayong processes in place that allow for pharmacists, no, to be vaccinated or to be vaccinators rather, as long as they have training. Currently, what we're focusing on is enabling pharmacists to provide vaccines for adults. Now, for pediatrics, because there are quite a number of considerations to think about, like timing, spacing, appropriate aging. We feel that this is better placed within a system that provides care on a holistic scale and not just dahil bakunahan kita, no? And that meron naman tayong mga systems and processes within the local health centers to provide that. I think it's just tweaking the efficiencies to go up parang and reach those targets. Hindi naman natin sinasabing we're starting from zero eh. Suppose yung mga stresses dun sa system natin that have happened over time, kasi syempre malaking bagay yung hindi gaano karamihan yung ating health staff eh. And they're really focusing on a lot of things, no? So kung sana I feel like kung ma-augment, no, yung ating staff sa mga local government units, yung efficiency ng system delivery or service delivery ma-i-improve. Hindi na siguro kailangan mag-antay ng sobrang tagal ng mga nanay pag bibitbitin nila yung kanilang mga anak. masisiguro, no, na kung mababa na ang stocking level, meron na tayong available na susunod, and so on and so forth.
What about private companies, pharmaceuticals? Because alam ko yung mga pharma companies, they do parang ano ba yung tawag ng medical missions. They do parang okay, for this year we're going to have these programs where you will find us in malls or villages, etc. ng libre. Are they allowed to initiate those activities? Do you know of companies that do these vaccinations, etc.?
Most of the time, the private companies will target adult populations or seniors just really because vaccinating kids medyo I would say a little bit more mabusisi kasi syempre kailangan ina-examine mo ng maayos, you have to check their records, no? So,
Mhm.
tayong mga programs that cater to older people as sponsored by the companies, no? Pero if you will recall, yung tinatawag nating supplementary immunization activity or yung SIA na nagbahay-bahay to provide measles and polio. So parang
Mhm.
ganun yun, no? Pero targeted towards kids, and it was set up by the public health system. It was DOH and the local government units that worked on this.
Okay.
Kaso nga lang, syempre ayaw natin nung ganyan na stopgap. Gusto natin, di na natin kailangan nung ganung klaseng mga emergency measures para habulin yung ating gap.
Yeah, but how do we resolve that issue, Doc Ana? Because pag kinausap ko naman itong mga barangay captain, kasi alam mo naman ako, na pakialamero, nakikipag-usap, they will tell, Cito, ang hirap mag-organize. Hahanap ka ng mga nurse, hahanap ka ng mga security, pagkatas lilibre mo yung barangay hall, etc. Hindi yan simple, tsaka Cito, budget. Laging budget issue, kahit libre pa yung bakuna nila, budget pa rin, magpapakain ka pa rin ng mga tao, at saka mayroon pang mga clean up, etc. In your experience and your as I said, in the center of the medical universe sa UP-PGH, ano bang solution natin?
Medyo frustrating, 'di ba, nakakaputi talaga ng buhok to think about the different aspects that need work, no? Pero I feel like well, one thing is to get all of the stakeholders together and actually pinpoint maybe a list of top 10 or top 5 concerns that we can all work towards and
Mhm.
on to the next part of the list. Pero siguro for the general public, ano ba hinihiling natin, no? Siguro kung meron kang anak, apo, pamangkin na nasa edad 1 pababa, at alam mo na may mga utang pa siyang bakuna, bigyan natin ng konting panahon para magpunta sila sa local health center para ma-assess kung ano pa yung kulang at pwede pang ihabol sa kanila. Tapos pangalawa, kung ikaw naman ay may anak na 5 years old pababa, merong mga health centers na pwede pang magbigay sa inyo ng catch-up vaccines, no? So you can actually try and coordinate with your local health center or the hospital nearest you, the public hospital nearest you, and they may be able to provide those catch-up vaccines for your kids. So that is para galing kusa na galing sa atin, gawa na natin ng paraan habang inaayos yung mga proseso para mas maging efficient yung service delivery. Kasi you're right Sito, sabi mo, yung barangay captain medyo namomroblema to organize all of this. Kasi dapat di na niya kailangan yan gawin. Catch up yan Dapat bago pa nakarating doon sa hinahabol na niya yung mga kanyang constituents, dapat nasa regular process nakatanggap ng bakuna yung mga bata.
Ayun. Okay. So, and for our part in the media, at least I speak for myself, I commit to write about it para mangulit and to remind people also, our readers, that we all have a part in promoting this health awareness because it's always like that in the Philippines. You know, we go to doctors asking them to solve the problems that we ourselves could have prevented through vaccination and health awareness. So, Dr. Ana, please, I hope you will keep in touch with us here on Agenda, and of course for my column on in Philippine Star. We are available for UP-PGH, for the medical practitioners, because we're your partners and we're here to support you. Thank you for your services, your commitment, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's Dr. Ana Lim Ong. Nabaliktad ko ba? Parang naku po, ano ba yan? Ong-Lim. Sorry, Dr. Ana. Aray ko, sabi ko na nga ba. Dr. Ana Ong-Lim, and she is the Chief of the Infectious and Tropical Disease Division of UP-PGH. So please, kung may utang pang bakuna yung bata, pabakunahan nyo na. At least give them the ability to defend themselves from disease. Okay, let's go to our closing blessing declaration for the week. And it comes from Pope John Paul I. It would be wrong to wait and postpone continually. Para sa mga teka-teka, mya-mya, he who takes the road of later ends up on the road of never. Do not turn life into a perpetual waiting room. I do hope that whatever plans, wishes, aspirations you have, take at least a few steps towards it. Take the initial action para may karatnan kayo, or for your wish mo lang magkatotoo. I'm Cito Beltran, thanking you for bearing with my sore throat and watching the program the whole week. We do hope to see you next week. In the meantime, please pray for Team Agenda and please keep it here on One News. God bless.